Throughout this week, we're going to be looking at how the rising cost of living is affecting, and it's going to affect people in the weeks and months ahead. And we're going to be featuring it on various programs. We thought we'd kickstart it today on Daybreak. And we're going to be finding out how helping people in financial need is something that faith groups have been involved in for a long time. But how are they going to deal with the potential wave of more people needing assistance? Well, to answer the question, with me now is Kate Eaglestone. She is the social action lead, the lead officer for the organisation Together Liverpool. Good morning, first of all, Kate.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
And lovely to be with you as well. Kate, perhaps you can just start by telling us about Together Liverpool and who are you aimed at? Who do you help and what type of support do you offer?
Yeah, so Together Liverpool's existed as a charity for quite a few years, and we work alongside the Church of England and other faith groups, really across the whole of the Liverpool diocese, so right up to Southport, across to Warrington, and then back round to Liverpool. And we feel really passionately about social justice and how to support those people on the ground, especially through churches and through existing structures, really meet the needs, the individual needs of the communities around them.
And how has it been over the past 2 years, Kate? You know, give us an update for churches and that social outreach. I would presume it's been very busy.
Yeah, you're completely right. So we've identified sort of 10 major areas of social justice that lots of churches around the diocese are joining in with and serving faithfully. And so that really varies from food insecurity and finance through to modern slavery and displaced people and people with mental health issues and social isolation. So lots and lots of things going on right across the churches. But particularly over the last 2 years, many churches have really built up a strong work amongst those people who are either have got a lot of food insecurity. So things like food banks and pantries have really risen. The numbers of those have risen over the last couple of years. And then also finance, people, debt centres, and people being able to support people who are really struggling financially within church structures and community structures. So those are the two areas really that we've noticed during the pandemic. We've been incredibly busy supporting churches in.
So we've heard a few days ago that inflation is running at over 5%, and in April we'll see the rising of the energy price gap, meaning much higher charges for gas and electricity. And Kate, what I wanted to ask you was about how are churches preparing for the potential of many more people walking through their doors and calling their helplines and seeking help?
It's a really good question, and I think the answer to that is really varied. I think some churches are really aware of what's happening. Other churches perhaps are just even struggling to come out of the pandemic in a healthy way themselves. But I think there is a real desire from church leaders and from people who go to church on a regular basis to be as effective as they can in the ministries that they are working with. And so we would really encourage people, if they're not already thinking about some of the massive issues that people are going to be facing around poverty, to be able to start getting to grips with those. It's a really helpful thing, because I think if we're not well placed in the community, and the church has always done such a wonderful job of being effective in the way that it influences the world around it and how it listens to the community around it. And we want to really encourage churches to think about how they can play an active part in helping people in what will just be likely a horrific moment in history for us all.
And I think as well, Kate, it's about the individual having the courage to seek that help. Some might be really vulnerable and not want to make a fuss or reach out to get that support. Churches help the most vulnerable in so many ways. Is there any one form of support that has been called upon in particular?
No, again, what we try and encourage churches is, rather than having a blanket view about what they should be doing, is actually just equipping churches to be able to listen well to their communities. And of course, that's going to look really different from one community to another. And again, just trying to help the churches to respond together, because it's quite a big, daunting task, especially if you live in a more deprived area, to try and think about how one individual church can respond to all of the unique needs around it. So we do encourage churches to think about how they can get together, how they can work in different spaces, how they can share resources and build relationships with each other, so that we're actually seeing a network rather than a duplicating or a lack of resources happening.
And for that offer of help, Together Liverpool is out there to be that connector. If there's a church community right now with members listening and they feel that they want to do more, can you help them?
Yeah, so I think that's a really exciting part of the story. We would really love to be able to connect people locally on the ground so that if you've not got a more regional understanding of what's going on within churches, communities, charities that are already existing on the ground, we'd love to be able to connect you in with what's already happening. But also we've connected in with many people up and down the diocese who are doing absolutely phenomenal work and have been doing for years and years. And we want to be able to learn from them and grow from their experience. So one of the main things we want to do is to connect people in with existing work, and many really great organizations across the diocese are really happy to share their resources, happy to share their experience, and for us to build good relationships with each other so that that network, and that's the project I really work on, which is the network of kindness. Seeing a network of all the exciting things going on actually really helps people understand that they're not just a little person faithfully serving in a little church in a little community, but they're part of a really big story, and their little part of that plays a big part in it. So yes, please do get in touch. And if that's a church getting in touch with us, we'd love to be able to help. But even if it's just an individual and perhaps you want to come along and help in something local, but you're not really sure what's happening, again, please do come and speak to us.
And Kate, you've hit the nail on the head there by that using of the word kindness, because that's what it is about. It's about being the bridge, because a lot of people will be facing financial worry. And our listener right now who might be worried about their financial situation, what would be your advice? How can we also find out more about getting support and help from Together Liverpool?
Yeah, so Together Liverpool itself is probably not the very first place we would encourage people who are struggling to come to, but we would really encourage you to go to your local church, and hopefully that they'll have the resources to be able to point you in the right direction, because we are aware that actually that would be completely overwhelming, and we really would love local responses and local people to be able to help other local people. But it's why things like the pantry have been the local pantries have been so successful, because what we're really wanting to do is to be able to create community, and for the church not to be seen as just a service that's provided, but actually it's a community where people can come and seek relationships and seek help, and for us together as communities to be able to influence the systems around us. And of course, that's much easier done if you're part of a larger group than it is just as an individual.
Definitely. Is there a website, Kate?
Yep. So Together Liverpool's got a website. And you're welcome to head to that. And then if you're wanting to just to find your local church, there's find your local church website as well. So you're going to ask me for the website, aren't you? So I'm going to find it.
It's okay. Do you know what? We'll do that on your behalf. Don't worry, Kate. It's been a pleasure catching up, and many thanks for joining us today here on Daybreak. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And you as well. We'll get those details for you in a moment. In fact, when Paul Beasley updates with our What's Ons later on, give you the chance to grab a pen. He'll be able to refer you to those two websites for Find My Local Church and also Together Liverpool. And my thanks there to Kate Eaglestone. She is the Social Action Lead Officer based for the organisation of Together Liverpool. And we'll update, as I say, with those details within our What's Ons.